Speedcast. This is episode 7. This week we're going to talk a little bit about kind of what it's like to race at Indy. Obviously, last weekend we didn't have the on-track action that we were all hoping for. With not running the Indy 500 on its traditional date, Sunday, May 24th. So that was kind of a shame. We're still actually able to get out to the track for a little bit. So we're going to talk about that. But yeah, we got Darren here, and how's everyone doing?
Yeah, it's been a strange time, hasn't it? I remember talking to you, race day morning, of how weird it was, not being, all the preparation that goes into the race. Just very, very strange. The whole month was very, very weird. It's such a huge race, and we'll talk about it in a little while in a little bit more detail. But the fact that you stay at the track as well. I mean, you used to stay at the track anyway in your Indy Lights years as well, didn't you, Dalton? But you would have been in the motorhome, in the driver's lot, probably doing some sponsor events downtown or something the night before. Hopefully not staying up too late. But then everything starts so early. The parades, the cannon going off at 6 o'clock in the morning. Very, very strange and eerie. And you rode it, didn't you? And you went down there and did some laps.
Yeah, we did, and got out on track on our bikes. We'll show some pictures in a bit, and that's something that we kind of like to do during the month of May. Like I said, with all of us staying there.
Poppy.
In the driver lot in the motorhomes is kind of, we usually get like, I think it's 6 to 7 a.m. or 7 to 8. We can go out and do some laps, but kind of catching up on what's going on in our world. So we're almost back to racing, right? We've got IndyCar coming back at Texas June 6th, which is exciting.
Close.
Getting there. I think do I have the latest? Got the latest schedule somewhere here.
Yeah, so
here's the latest IndyCar schedule version. What version are we on now?
24. And that's okay for today, right?
Yeah. Hopefully there won't be any more changes. But yeah, we've got Texas coming up June 6th, and then my first race is gonna be Road America. Well, actually, no, this isn't even the right one. This is.
That's changed, hasn't it? Road America's changed to the 12th of July. It's going to taken the Toronto race, hasn't it? Unfortunately.
Yeah. I think this was the one I pulled off the IndyCar site, so maybe they haven't even updated.
Yeah, 4th of July. Richmond's been cancelled, unfortunately. I mean, we can talk about that a little bit as well. These tracks, they've got to pay, to host a race, and Richmond's a small little facility, and if they didn't have fans to come into the track, to buy hot dogs, buy beer, the admission tickets, and buy T-shirts and things, they weren't going to be able to. They would have lost. They would have lost money holding the race. So Richmond ended up, cancelling the race. I think if they would have been a stalwart on the series again, I raced there a couple of times back in the day, but I think if it was a regular on the series. They probably would have still held it. It's a great little track. It's a super short track. You like the short ovals, don't you, Dalton? Yeah. A lot more driving, a lot more physical. You're not just flat the whole way around. You actually have to muscle the car, get it really set up well. Super high banked. It's amazing when you're there on the infield at Richmond. So I'm actually pretty excited to get that back on schedule. But with it being the first year for Richmond, it was going to cost them a hell of a lot of money to get it back up and running.
I think the restrictions in that state, because it's from Virginia, right, are pretty heavy. So I think that it's just like Toronto. I think you can have what the state's telling everyone to do, but then the cities and the questions of the population density and all that, which obviously we're sad to see Toronto go. It's my hometown race, and it's disappointed for friends and family and fans and everyone at K-Line. We have lots of people that come down for that race. We almost have a whole grandstand section, everyone wearing their teal K-Line green shirts. And
there was going to be some good potential for sponsors. We were building up to that one. That was going to be your mini 500, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Hopefully entertain a lot of potential sponsors. trying to get some sustainability in this series. But we roll with the punches, right? This is what racing's all about. We adapt and overcome and quickly.
Yeah, and I guess the only other thing to catch up on is, and we maybe shouldn't talk about it, but we kind of have to, right? There's drama in the e-racing world. Lots going on this week. It doesn't stop. It's a gift that keeps on giving or taking, I guess, depending on what side you're on.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, so we can talk about it, right? So Formula E, very professional. Very professional championship in its own rights. It was a little, people in motor racing, I feel, were pretty skeptical. The hardcore fans, hardcore racers, drivers, teams were a little skeptical, I believe. No sound, those electric cars.
Well, lots of gearbox sound. There's not a lot of motor sound.
Yeah, there's a lot of whining and whirring and tire squealing. So it's very different motor racing, but I strongly think it's the way of the future, to be honest, and this is why
the manufacturers are going.
Yeah, right. They get a lot of backing. The car manufacturers are super interested in it, aren't they? Because of the technology that's in there, right? And they can develop their cars, batteries, gearboxes, drivetrains. You probably know better than me, but they've got money to spend, and that's what's going to be in their cars in the future.
Yeah. And if you guys have been watching the racing news cycle or follow racer.com on Twitter or motorsports.com, whatever your preferred kind of racing news outlet is, obviously you saw that Daniel Abt, I think his name is.
Daniel Abt, his name is, yep.
Yeah, basically lost his Audi ride because he had somebody, basically a ringer, coming in and racing for him, and I don't think it was iRacing. I think it was R Factor 2. I think it was the one that they were using.
Yeah, we don't really like that, do we?
I'm not really an R Factor fan. Which, I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, okay, that's definitely obviously a silly move, kind of a not the best thing to do. But he put out this long apology kind of explanation video, and it's all in German. But if you put the subtitles on, through what he's talking about, and I guess his point was that they were gonna. I guess he said in his previous stream, he was talking to like a pro sim racer kid. He's like, "Oh, you should do the race for me," and his explanation was that they were going to do like a YouTube, kind of make it like a kind of a joke. Like I guess he's known for being a bit of a prankster, and do like a funny like Ashton Kutcher, like you just got punked kind of thing, of like which is, I mean, if that's what was going on, like and if there was no intention of like. If the intention was always to like be like it wasn't actually me, then I think maybe the reaction's been a bit out of sorts. Like the fine and the apology, I totally agree with. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they just should have told him he had to do the stream the next race wearing a clown suit and kind of called it. I think that would have been funny.
No, I've heard those. I mean, it's he was Audi, right? He was an Audi factory driver.
Yeah, and so that thing is like on the flip side, you're representing a major multinational brand and real sponsors. It's like at the end of the day, it's not just you and your friends playing video games. It is to an extent, it is the real deal. Just the racing's not real, but the product in terms of TV and everything is real. So I don't know. It's complex. It's part of me wants to think that it didn't have to go that way, but then again, I guess you can see their point too.
Neither did Carl Larson. His was a mistake.
But I think that the Larson thing. I think that that what happened there. If that was in any medium, I think that the outcome would have been the same, and honestly should have been the same.
But what I was going on to say was, so that was the first. Then you've got Bubba Wallace was the first, but he rage quitted his race. Then there was Kyle, and then there was people like Simon Page.
Indy,
Oh my gosh! So I'm sure Daniel Abt saw all those, saw the repercussions of all that. So. I think I talked to you about it. I think there was maybe some underlying issues there with the team. needing to get rid of drivers. There were some other ex-Audi drivers that were saying, "Oh, that's all expected. I saw that coming." Da da da. Whatever they were saying. So, but one thing I, would say is, your head's on the chopping block when you're with a big team. When I was with Ganassi, and you'll probably see some pictures here later when we go through some of the 500 stuff of my IMS 500 experiences. My head was on the chopping block, and it didn't perform, and got chopped and replaced by Dan Weldon when Honda came along. Maybe it was, I don't know. I'd like to think there was a backstory that they needed Honda to come in and they needed Dan Weldon to come in with the Honda money and everything. But at the end of the day, I lost my ride. And hopefully I can, pass that experiences on to you. But when you're with those big teams,
don't give them a reason, right?
Do not give them a reason. And exactly, we've talked about it many times. Don't you've got to don't miscommunicate. You've got to communicate properly. Do all the right things. Even if you don't want to, or if it's not quite what you want to do, do not give them any reason other than to keep you driving for them.
Yeah.
So let's go.
Let's
talk
kind of
a bit more about some fun stuff at IMS.
Well, first up, and we'll get to Indy in a sec, but we have we had some cool happenings today, right? It was supposed to be the first launch of American astronauts from U.S. soil, because not traditionally, but since the end of the shuttle program, they've been launching on the Soyuz out of Baikonur.
It was like 11 years ago since they'd done that, Dalton.
Yeah, but it's been about a decade at least, and since that time, the U.S. has basically had to pay Roscosmos, like the Russian NASA, to basically put their astronauts on their rockets and launch them up to the ISS. But with Elon Musk and SpaceX kind of having a corporate-public partnership with NASA, they were going to put two guys up on top of one of their Falcon boosters, or the Falcon 9, Dragon booster, whatever.
Dragon, I think it was called.
Dragon, I think that's it. Sadly, it was scrubbed for weather. I think downrange they had cloud and rains and whatnot, and there's obviously concerns if they have an abort scenario with if it's storming and raining. I'm sure the parachutes and the capsules are perfectly fine to operate under those conditions, but I doubt they want to take any risks. I'm sure their decision making.
There's a lot of liquid oxygen around.
Yeah. I'm sure they're very conservative with their risk assessments.
I wouldn't want to be around that with a little bit of lightning. No.
But what was kind of fun, so there's through racing, you get to meet all kinds of cool people, and someone that I got to meet was Drew Feustel, who was an expedition commander he was a mission commander on the ISS a while back, and we actually went to the same university, about I think 10, 15 years apart. But he got his PhD at Queen's. And last year at COTA, we did a segment where we kind of compared my racing gear, helmet, and kit and stuff with the stuff that the astronauts use. So just kind of showing you guys a little bit of that. Oh, this is the wrong clip. That's the one. So he's trying on one of my gloves, and we just basically kind of went through and talked about the helmet and talked about.
Bit different to his gloves.
Yeah. And just kind of, compared and contrasted the race suit to the space suit, and that whole experience was pretty cool to see. All of our stuff is 100% performance and comfort, and that's fireproof and all that, but we only have one task, right? We're just trying to drive a race car fast, whereas they obviously have to be working with tools, and you have your pressure suits for doing EVAs, and then your flight suit for when you're in the actual capsule. So it was kind of neat to get a chance to see what the equipment's like from a different high performance.
Yeah. Talk to him. Did it? What was he thinking about all your race gear and everything? Because I remember we were there. I was obviously there and helping out and everything, and we got to talk to him afterwards and everything, but not in detail like you here. Was he kind of surprised at the difference?
I think there were some similarities. So we use Nomex for the fireproof stuff, which actually I think a lot of their fireproof stuff is as well. The big thing is that our stuff is very form fitting, and tailored to ourselves, which all of their suits are custom tailored, but they're a lot more baggy and there's a lot more space. It's not as like tight to your skin. I don't know why your picture keeps doing that. And I think they have to be spending days almost in these capsules, so they need a little bit more breathing room in their helmet, and the ability to look around, look at gauges and all that. So they're eye ports significantly larger than ours. And then obviously, the race suit isn't designed for vacuum, so there's not like you don't need like pressure seals or anything.
Yeah, you've not got oxygen supplies. They don't. It's not a G suit, I don't think. Is the space suit a G suit like the fighter pilots?
Not the EVA suit, and I don't think the flight suit was. Is why I actually don't think I asked him that. But I wouldn't think so, because they're not doing. They're only really sustaining acceleration like in one direction, whereas the fighter pilots are turning and stuff. So,
doing it in two plane.
Yeah. So I wouldn't think so, but I actually don't have an answer to that. We'll have to get him on the show and ask.
Yeah, let's get him. Let's get him on the D2 Speedcast. And we were watching obviously today. I was watching with the kids after you'd shared the stream. I've put photos all over the place. Don't worry about it. But it was interesting, because the first thing that the kids said was how different the spacesuits and gear was that they were using. That obviously, Elon Musk and SpaceX are obviously involved heavily in all that, right? I mean, you follow it more than I do. Tell us a bit. Do you know anything more about the what they had and the ship and the spacesuits and everything? The difference.
Well, I think the fascinating thing when you look at the interior view of the cockpit that they had, during the live stream. One thing that's crazy is that they get in these spacesuits, or they get suited up and then in the capsule like hours before they're on the before they launch. Like it's like 3 hours before the launch, and they're in the seat, because there's engineers and scientists. The teams are going through all their checks and everything, and they have to be in there to make sure that all the comm checks, and I'm sure they have their whole pre-flight checklist that they're working through. And the communication with the crew is an important part of that. But the suit design is pretty new. Everything looks futuristic. It was kind of cool. They had Elon on being interviewed along with the director of NASA, and he was saying that one of the important design criteria for him was that the suit has to look cool, which isn't something isn't something you normally think about, right? Like racing is very form, kind of follows function. Which is kind of how I am. Like, I think like the beautiful cars are the ones that they're successful, right? It's like even if a car looks great but it's slow, I mean, it doesn't have that same kind of history to it. But his point was that they want the interior to look nice and the suits to look nice, because they want it to be an inspiring event. Try to bring kids into that I want to be the next astronaut kind of thing. It's like the '80s generation that saw Tom Cruise. I think was the example that the director gave us. He saw Tom Cruise in Top Gun, and that was like that cemented like I was going to be a naval fighter pilot. So that they want to create this image of the cool equipment and suits, and it's futuristic and new.
I think they did. My 8-year-old and 13-year-old and his buddy, I told them it was all on like an hour or so before, and they all jumped out of the pool and were straight in, because it's something new for them, right? Yeah. This hasn't been going on very often, like it was maybe in the 80s, 90s.
And big kids like me, I'm all about it.
Yes, and me too. I love it, right? You're getting me into it a bit more. I come to you for the science side of it and the explanation if I need to know anything about it. But yeah, the kids, they got on and they were like, "Oh man, this is like Star Wars," or whatever. It was. So I think so. I need to probably tweet Elon Musk and tell him
a little science lesson for the kids.
Yeah, it was. And then all the explanations. I loved that live feed that they had, and it literally was, because there was some pauses between communications of fueling for 40 minutes or whatever it was, and. But there was some of ex-astronauts, I guess, on there, and scientists and what have you from NASA that were on there, and SpaceX giving some really cool explanations and like you said, science lessons. They didn't get much e-learning over the last few weeks with the schoolwork in this quarantine. So they maybe learned something today on that, so that was good.
That's that's one of the things that we love to do with the race program is try to help use it to inspire kids to get in the STEM. Obviously, I work with 1080 Education. They're a STEM non-for-profit that runs like a Formula SAE style competition with our C cars, and we're actually doing an e-learning video series now. On tracking up to speed. We'll have to share some links to that. We've been
Where can people go find that?
They can go. They'll be. On my website. The link isn't put up yet, but I'm doing some maintenance to it. But there'll be links from my website, and they can go to 1080education.com.
Awesome.
They can follow 1080 Education and the National STEM League (NSL) on Twitter and Instagram, and they have. They're always tweeting out links to the latest videos, and also my YouTube channel. Those videos, as we record them, we're going to be uploading them there. There's none there yet, but we haven't. We just have one or two that are kind of finished post production and ready to go out. So they'll be uploaded as they're done, and you can see them there. So moving on to IMS, we were talking about. Obviously, there's no racing action right now, which is a shame. But we got to go biking at the Speedway, which is fun.
You didn't race these guys too much. It was more of a workout.
Yeah, it was just kind of a fun thing. We, like I said earlier, in the month of May, we get the chance to ride around the track, and Tony TK is obviously a big proponent of that. We all ride together on the online Zwift thing with the PitFit guys, and when we get the chance to ride in real life, it's it's a great place to ride because there's no cars when we're out there at least, and it's flat, it's nice and smooth. Although it is, I won't say it's boring because it's IMS, but it does 2.5 miles on a bike goes a lot slower than it does in a light car and in an Indy car.
20 miles an hour versus 220 miles an hour is quite a bit different. But this was very cool. This was early on race day morning, which would have been at race day morning, right? And there's Charlie Kimball there. You had who else did we have? Marcus Ericsson and Felix Rosenquist there. Did Tony join you as well?
No, he surprisingly didn't come for this one. I think he has he's doing a lot of online. He's doing a lot of training on Zwift. I think he has like a morning ride he does every day with his.
He has a team going as well, doesn't he? And people all around the world. But yeah, just looking at those empty sands and that beautiful weather.
Oh, it would have been a perfect day.
It was the first thing I texted you on race day morning. I was like, this would have been such a perfect race day. Coming out of that pagoda on getting the driver announcements and walking over the yard of bricks.
I think secretly we were all kind of hoping that it was going to rain so we could say that it was going to be, wouldn't have mattered.
Rained out anyway, but
and you see they actually brought out the Borg Warner there. Awesome. Actually wheeled it out. I don't think it was for our bike ride. I think they were doing something else with it, but it was still kind of cool to see.
We'll say it was for you, Dalton. it was all for you.
But yeah, and this was as I was driving out. I went on under the tunnel on the pit straight and was driving behind the stands, and I just kind of pulled over and parked and walked up one of the stairs to go to the stands and just wanted to take a picture, just because it's like you go there a lot and during the month of May and it's empty because you're either you're not testing or whatever, but like there's still people around, right? There's still teams and hustle and bustle. Like there was nobody. It was like the 5 of us on the bikes and a couple people to let us in. No yellow shirts or no bus tour. It was just empty. It was kind of eerie. So that was kind of it. So anyway, it was just it was just a weird moment just to stand and for me to stand there and be like, that on a different year we'd be racing right now. So that was that. So talking about Indy and that whole month, I think people probably want to know what it's like to race at IMS. What's that experience like? And as whether you're an oval rookie or it's your first time at Indy. I mean, Darren, what was your first? Well, do you remember your first laps that you turned at IMS? What did that feel like?
It was crazy. It was with Ganassi in the Target car, and early on in my IndyCar career, I'd done a year in Champ Car, which was mainly road course racing, but I'd raced the one race at Milwaukee, short 1 mile track, more of a kind of a road coursey fast corner track, and then one race at Germany, which is a big super speedway. But yeah, IMS was very different to any other track that I'd done. I think we'd done Homestead at the beginning of this year, before this race, and then St. Petersburg, and then coming here for testing and what have you. It was a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure is what I really feel. I remember, obviously I'd been in the number 10 car, a lot of prestige in that car. The target car as well. Dixon, just won the season, the championship the year before. So we were coming in, with super high hopes. And you showed me a picture, of how my first race ended. Right there, look, rolling down pit lane with
that's not what you want to see.
3 wheels on my wagon and Sam Hornich's Penske. We were coming back through the fields, and we were competitive that year. I was running up in 3rd place, I remember, behind Tony, actually, to be honest. The Andretti Honda guys were really fast that year. Me and Sam had stalled in our first bloody pit stop. I was under, taking a bit in too much pressure. I forgot to dip the clutch and, sequential gearbox at that stage, and clonked it into first and bloody stalled it. But we were fast, and I was coming back through the field. I think I was in top 10, and me and Sam were just working through the field to get back up into contention, going around a back marker, and he pushed up, the back marker pushed up into me, and all 3 of us ended up rolling down pit lane like that and hit the end of the pit wall. So
scary, super
disappointing after long build up, my first season with a big team and what have you. But a couple of seasons with Ganassi, so a couple of seasons with Foyts. My best finish was 9th with Foyts in my last race there. AJ, you're gonna really enjoy it with AJ. He puts a lot of impetus on this one race. Making he always buys it.
AJ.
There's big AJ at the Speedway. He loves it. He always has garage number 1. Same for all the years that he's been there, the 50 years or whatever that he's been there. That was a lot of fun. That was a different type of pressure, but a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. You're gonna enjoy it, and quite a bit different than the lights race as well, with no pit stops. The race is so long. I think the most pit stops I think I did one year was like 8 pit stops. Wow. So it's crazy. Because you want to pit under yellow and get fresh tires. You follow the leader.
Well, and pitting under yellow, that's always stressful when you've got everyone coming in, right? If you're on a cycle with a lot of cars.
Hit your marks. Get the pit speed. Good guys on your crew. Generally, they're under a lot of pressure. Sometimes they make mistakes, and you're coming out, and it's it's not the widest of pit lanes, as you know from your lights, racing. But the pit stop challenge, the whole day as well is something that is got to be experienced as a driver for sure. Waking up early, walking through gasoline alley with your team owners is a very big tradition. Through the alley cats and underneath gasoline alley, they're out into pit lane and ready to go to the green room, getting ready.
So what's that? That whole morning, like, what's that like when the cannon goes off and everything?
It is long. It is very, very long. You have got to have a lot of good sleep. The first couple of years, Target always had a sponsored dinner downtown, which is only on a normal day, 10-minute drive, right, from the Speedway.
15 minutes, not too far.
But, they'd have it the night before, of course, and the 2 drivers, Dixon and myself, the 2 years that I did it with them, we had to go down, and you're trying to get away, and everybody wants to speak to you and talk to you. Because you're probably going to be woken up by the cannon at 6 o'clock, and it's going to be a long day and the longest race of the year. So you want your sleep. One year I got locked out of my motorhome, and me and Scott, he was giving me a leg up through a window in my motorhome and things Not really how I wanted to prepare ourselves for the race, but yeah, no, super long morning. You don't start till 12:30. The pre-race ceremonies are probably twice, if not 3 times, as long as normal, and you know that from Indy Lights. The normal IndyCar intros and pre-race activities are longer than Indy Lights, and you've been hydrating, you want to go to the bathroom, you're trying to focus. It was I think the biggest thing that I could say about race day morning is it was a relief to get in the car.
Yeah.
It really was. Get your helmet on, sit in the car.
Get away.
That's when nobody's bothering you ever again, and you're like, oh, thank God for this. We're gonna start racing, it's pretty cool. It's pretty special.
Yeah, it's a special day for sure. I mean, even just from what I've experienced, walking out onto pit lane and just the crowd. Like you walk out there and just all these crowds and the noise and the flyover, the anthem. The anthem at the Speedway always gives me chills every year. I mean, that's and I'm Canadian, but it's like still that you still like get into it. It's like, wow.
Well, it's go time, right? As me as a driver, I think is that same for you. It's like that national anthem. That's when they always want. It's after the national anthem. They always say, drivers, get ready to get in your cars, right?
Yeah.
So I always associated the American national anthem with there we go. It's kind of go time.
Yeah, no, it's a cool day. From the light standpoint, it's on carb day, which is a bit more. I mean, for the fans, it's always it's a celebration. But carb day is, I think, more the party day, right? It's a bit more crazy, or not more crazy. But there's the concert and stuff, but yeah, just walking around in a race suit on carb day. Like, there's kids coming up taking pictures with you, which is great, and you get to they get to go by the car and smile and kind of, which is always fun to do that. And I always loved the Freedom 100. That race was wild. Was lucky enough to start pole 2018 and finish third 3 times. So definitely have some unfinished business when we get back to the track in August.
That will be good if you do finish off your business there, fella, because you did have some good races. So anything better than that, we'll be celebrating.
We'll be celebrating for sure. We've got a couple videos pulled up. So this is my first Freedom. This was
the
white flag. I think, yeah. This is the real. Oh yeah, green, white checkered NASCAR style.
Yeah, this was teammates. Dean Stoneman, Shelby Blackstock, and you trying to chase down Ed Carpenter.
No, Ed Jones. Ed Jones.
Yeah,
it was Ed and I were battling earlier, and he kind of squeezed me down to the pit wall. We were bumping tires like right on the inside pit wall a few laps before, and I fell back to fourth, and I held back on making a move on the outside of Shelby here into 1, and ended up making the pass into turn 3. But Neil having a look, or whoever that is.
Yeah, I think that was.
It's Neil. So the camera focuses on the leaders, but I pulled a late dive bomb on Shelby here. You kind of see me pop a little bit. And I mean, this race is always super cool. That famous 4-wide finish with Dempsey and Gabby and Brad.
Some of the closest finishes ever. I mean, you've had some close finishes. There you go. You can see in the background there.
That was first year. That was pretty fun.
How hard Mateus Laced has been to get around, and Aaron maybe giving him.
Go to the last lap here.
Indianapolis 500.
Lice had a big motor there as well, didn't he? Again, you were battling up front the whole race, second here.
Yeah.
He was tough to catch. That was for sure. White flag, second place. This is the Telitz behind you.
Yeah, I can't remember what. Oh, this is where I went low and turned 4 and thought
to try and get him on the last corner, and Telitz dragged past you, didn't he? Yeah. I thought you timed this right, because Telitz Lice had got really low downforce. He's got a big engine this year. We knew he was super fast by himself, but in the draft he was gettable. And we were trying to time this up perfectly, and you nearly did within millimeters. This is coming into 4 right now.
I got too low. I got the curb, and I had a big moment.
Yeah, and you see Shaw right there. Yeah. But you were going for it, buddy. You were going for it.
You got to try it, right?
Exactly. That year, I don't think you would have even passed.
I don't think so.
He was super fast. Even if you'd have timed that right. But I think it was tough. And then this year, you got chopped by your teammate Pato, didn't you, as well? Yeah, 3 wide, 2 wide. This was even closer. Look,
this was wild.
Yeah, with Colton and Santi and Pato, this was. I can't wait to see you guys battling it out in IndyCar again.
Yeah, see here I thought I had it perfect too. You know, I thought I had the right. I was like, okay, I'm in a good spot. Brian had a big moment there.
I think this year as well. Just pause it there as well, Dalton. Just tell everybody a bit, because we, after the first 2 years, we pretty much worked super hard on timing for this point, didn't we? For this last lap, what position do you need to be in? Where do you need to be lifting? Where where do you need to be to win by however much? And I think this was good. You were in the right position here at the right time.
And we in this race, we kind of fall into like fourth and say third, second, kind of hanging thereabouts. But
you led the most laps in this race after being on pole.
Yeah. Oh no, sorry. I was thinking about 2019 with Juncos.
No.
Yeah, but no.
This one was
pole,
led a lot of the
up
race.
front, and the thing was like, do you want to lead going into one in the last lap? Do you want to be second, knowing you're going to get passed in the back straight away? And what we kind of came down to is that we want to be drafting for the pass, either take them into 3, I think, and take their air away, or get them down the pit straight away if you can't make that pass into 3. And I think being third behind 2 cars, you're going to get lots of air for that big draft. I felt really good about this. I felt like that this was the right place to be. And I, coming through the short chute, had a nice run on both of these guys. Pato's kind of going to go high here. See him go high, and I'm starting to try to tuck him, but he sees me coming and comes down. And we just basically got, that was kind of it.
Yeah, you needed that run to be clean through 4, didn't you? I think if you would have got that run from Pato through the short chute, got Pato into 4, you would have had such a fast run down the pit straight. You would have passed Cole down the finish line, because the first half of the race you were leading, passing into 1, passing into 4, passing into 1, passing into 4. So you'd had a lot of experience in that type of racing. So I think it's got good preparation for the last lap of the 500, like last year with Simon and who was it? Simon and Rossi.
Sorry, Simon and Rossi. Yeah, Simon and Rossi.
Yeah, Rossi and Pagano kind of chopped Rossi at the last minute, and he was just timing it. So hopefully it's not as close as that. That gives all those on the sidelines heart attacks every time.
Seriously. We got a question. So just is there a video of me qualifying on pole from Atlantic Cat? You were sick, and I was sick and missed it. Tuned into Carb Day for a very pleasant surprise. Oh, thanks. There is onboard. I have all the onboard. I don't know if Andretti would mind if I put it out there or not.
Yeah, it might be worthwhile putting it out on YouTube and just posting it or doing a little commentary on it. We could maybe do that next week, Dalton. Maybe we could commentate over your video.
Yeah, and so basically, that from what I remember, that lap, there was kind of a bit of a headwind, and you're always looking at your RPM gauges, and I think Pato held it in 6th or 5th in 6th the whole time, whereas I downshifted on the back straightaway, and it was like I beat Pato by like I don't know, a couple hundredths of a second kind of thing, and I feel like it was that little downshift just to get a little bit back in the right RPM range might have been what did it. I don't know.
Yeah,
always so tight
it was fun. It was a fun year that year. I felt, you were competitive even on road courses. You had a third at Mid Ohio, some strong runs, and with Colton and Pato as teammates. Some of the
we're all
probably
pushing each other.
Yeah, oh my
that
gosh,
raced against,
they were bound for IndyCar, pretty much guaranteed. The pair of them, and you being their teammate and battling with them. It's going to be nice to see you three back out on the track together again in IndyCar here soon.
No, well, and it'll be fun to get be on track in August for the 500. I can't wait for that experience. It's going to be amazing. So I guess one thing I'm always wondering about is what's that 3 wide start like? That's something you don't do anywhere else, right?
No, that's right. And you've driven lots of ovals, probably more than what I had done before my first Indy 500. And yeah, it was. They tell you, make sure it's I wouldn't say it's staged, but it's frowned upon if you don't fall into line into turn 1. Like pole goes first, second, third. They tell you to race, of course, but the officials
used
to
dive bombs in the
there was no dive bombs on that first lap, but it always ends up being that way, right?
Last one in, first one out. Who is it always?
Yeah, something like that. But it's a lot. Normally you're up the gearbox as tight as you possibly can on a normal oval. You've got to leave a big gap. I can't remember. I think it's like 3 or 4 car lengths between rows, which is different and very difficult to stop yourself from jumping.
And do they actually mandate that? That's like you have to do that.
Oh, you have to do that. Yeah. You have to do it. You have to line up really early on the back straightaway. So you're doing it for turn 3 and turn 4, where you would normally be, getting yourself lined up on the gearbox, getting yourself in the right gear, getting ready to maybe take advantage and overtake once it goes green. But you've definitely got to leave bigger spaces between the lines. But yeah, there's not much air there. That what I found was. It's actually really weird because there's so much drafting going on. I'd never qualified far enough up the front in my racing, so I was always kind of mid-pack, around 13th, 15th. I think I always qualified, but there's several rows of 3 in front of you, and that takes a hell of a lot of air off your car, way more than normal. So even the steering goes light on the straights. The car's kind of floating. It's kind of sketchy. Yeah. It pulls up all the hot dog wrappers out of the grandstands as well, which is
weird. Always fun. Well, no, it'll be a great experience to be able to turn some laps, and hopefully come August we can have fans and we can all be there celebrating together, and it'll be a fun event. It'll just be not in May. I think if it does run in when we get on track, this will be the only Indy 500 that's ever been held outside of May, because it was canceled, I guess, since it started. It was canceled in 43, 44, 45. I saw in an article, and because of World War II, and then any other year it's run in May. So this might be the only 500 that's not run in May, and that actually still happens.
It's pretty historical times, but like you say, hopefully we can run and race and get some fans out there that are desperately needing to see some motor racing at a big event like Indy. So let's keep our fingers crossed.
Good. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in, and we're same time next week. We might have a look at that pole lap and got some other fun stuff coming your way. And that's it. It's race week for IndyCar coming up. They're heading down to Texas. I'm not doing that race. This is the only oval I'm doing this year is Indy. My first race will be Indy GP July 4th weekend. So that's going to be exciting. Building up to that in 5 weeks or so. So we'll be kind of talking about our prep and everything.
Yeah, maybe next week we can have a little preview of Texas as well. Maybe go over last year's race, maybe a little bit, some of my experiences there. Some of the do's and don'ts of Texas, and let's go watch them race.
Yeah, and if there's something about that race that you want to hear about, definitely let us know. Tweet at Darren or I, or you can. I guess you won't be able to comment because the stream will be turned off. But no, it'll be great to just let us know what you'd like to hear about Texas, and we'll get to it next week. Or if you have anything else, any other questions, any other topics that you think would be fun for us to talk about, that would be fun. Thanks.
Cool.
So Atlanta says you need to win it so you can be the only driver to win in August. I mean, my birthday is August 19th, and I think what's the date for the race? The 23rd. So it's like 4 days after my birthday.
That would be perfect.
That would be wild.
Let's.
Well, we'll be doing our best. That's
absolutely.
As
So,
hard as we can. All right, so we'll see you guys next week, 8 p.m. on Wednesday. Thanks.
See you later.